What's up, world? It's your fancy new guy, Greg Serio here, to teach you how to make a mold of your 3D printed respirator. So, how do you get started? Well, there's a lot of steps to this, so I used YouTube and my Google Dad to ask a ton of questions, and of course, true fancy new guy style, we failed a lot, so we're going to teach you about what we learned here. So in order to make this mold, because inside this is a replica of this, but to get there you have to build a couple things. So I used the glass plate from my Ultimaker S5 because I needed something like cool to, work on, and also I can shoot from underneath, get some cool shots that way. I used a hot glue gun, some foam that I found from when my wife made the Demigorgon outfit for my son, and I found some glue sticks, Gorilla Glue sticks to be exact. I used hot glue to build it, and I just kind of took this and built around it. So the hot glue, I made sure that it sealed all the way around because I knew I was going to pour some liquid in it. But a little Google searching around, Google Dad brought me to these guys. Smoothon.com. They have a ton of products and solvents, but these two specifically, we saw that we could use this stuff, Umu 30, which I thought was a fun name, but essentially this is the purple stuff you see right here. So it's a two-part epoxy that you basically fill it up in a measuring cup, equal amounts. It's 1-to-1, meaning one of this, one of that, mix it together. Whenever it forms, you have about 30 minutes to pour this stuff. So that's why it's really important to make sure when you're building up your frame and your box to seal it all the way around. So I'm going to flip this over because this is how it was actually built. So after I did that, I made my frame. I used hot glue to basically make a tower here that laid it inside just like this. So it's resting inside just like this. So the hot glue made it stand up because I needed to find a way, and you'll see in a bunch of different molds, but right here, I need to have a way to pour it inside there. So at the base of this was some hot glue that held it up. So after this Umu 30 was poured, I had a little snafu because I didn't know how much I was going to need, but once it's poured, it'll fill up around that, so whenever it's cured, you'll be able to have a hole to pour your actual mixture into when you make your replica. So I miscalculated because I didn't know how much I was going to need, so I started filling this guy up, and it filled up to about here, and I ran out of material. And then I had to order more and wait 3 days. If you watch some of our other lessons, you'll know that waiting is a waste. But during the prototyping and research and development, that's what we're doing. We're making a prototype. You make all your mistakes during this phase because you want to make a bunch of them fast. After waiting 6 days, I remixed this, and then I poured it all in there. And then over here, I got to do a little sample to get used to how this stuff works. So whenever I finished pouring all of this, I had to wait another 6 hours because that's about how long it takes for this to cure. 6 hours of waiting, what do? I don't know. Maybe play with your Legos.
Hi, Lego Greg. Hi, regular Greg. What made you happy? Did you have another accident? Did someone say happy accident? Ah, why are you tackling me, Bob Ross? There are no happy accidents.
After it's cured, you have to break away and rip away all that outside material that you poured into. That little foam thing with all the, you gotta get rid of it. So this X-Acto knife helped me cut away because I had to remember where this was buried inside my mold, because I had to pull this mold apart to be able to put it back together. After that, I was able to pull the mold apart, and then I saw my mold inside. My original 3D part was now exposed. So I had to pull this out. Once I pulled this out, I had a mold that was working. It looked like two pieces that fit, just like your ice cube tray in your freezer. Every time you put ice and you put it in your freezer, you wait, it turns into a solid. this stuff worked the same way. At the end of all that, I was able to then flip this over, and if you see, this is wrapped in tape. So the way this silicone mold works, silicone's a pretty cool material. It kind of like self-heals itself, so it seals itself back up. So after I cut it all out, pulled my mold out very carefully, I put these two back together and it seals. So in order to keep it sealed, I just put some packing tape around it. Pretty high tech, right? Then after that, I grabbed my Smooth Cast 300. I don't even know if this is the best material, but I needed to see how much I needed. Because they make like silicones, and we're just trying to find a good mask that fits my family space. So I pour it into the top, and then I wait 10 minutes. Also, I can do this big grand reveal to you. And now, without further ado, I'm gonna cut this mold out. But first, let me show you my fail. Remember this little mold? I tried pouring my first mold in this. It's supposed to be a replica of this. You know, the little mask that goes over the top, threads right in. Dun, 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 dun. It's not a replica of what it was supposed to do. That's why I learned you gotta get rid of the air bubbles. I really should have wiggled this around a little bit more, maybe squish the sides, just to make sure as it's going in, the air is allowed to come out that top hole. So, because of me not doing that on this one, I ended up with a little hockey puck. Not a respirator threaded insert. So, what I learned also is in this big one, there's a lot of little cavities and places that this has to fill. So that's why I would maybe tap the side a bit, squish it, just to make sure, because you'll see the air bubbles come right out the top. It'll go bloop, 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 bloop. And then it's good to pour more. Because sometimes there's air trapped, because that's what happened right here, which is why on our next one we know that there's going to be an air bubble there. Just like there's always going to be a plane on Wednesdays when we try to film these. Don't you know it's Earth Day? After I poured this, here it goes. See, here's the negative. This is my ice cube tray. And then here is the first copy of my 3D printed part. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pull this guy out. You gotta bend it, wiggle it, kind of get it out. Bada bing. And now I have a copy of my 3D printed part. So you see this little part right here? Now, after this, I just gotta cut this off. I'll sand this down, and then I have a perfectly molded part. But the part has to be perfect when you mold it, because it captures all those little imperfections of your first one. So does it fit? Of course it fits, because it's a replica of this one, and if this one fits, so will this. So my next step after this is I proved my concept. I can make a replica and a mold at home for my family. Now I just gotta make a better one. And if I could make one for my family, then you can make one for yours. That's why we're here today. We're trying to give you the confidence that you can build your own stuff. But think about how much we learned during this whole process of just trying to make our family safe. Learned how to make a mold, learned how to mix stuff. I built a super cool table, because one of the biggest things that kept me safe was this table. Because this stuff, do not pour it inside, ever. Come outside to pour it, otherwise you'll be sleeping for 4 days. Knowing that this is just something we found for free on grabcad.com, we wanted to take it up a notch. So, comes this. And with the help of my man Zachary Bloom, he did a lot of cool design work. You see this? This is my kid's mask. Slightly smaller, it actually fits him a lot better, and it's branded. So we changed little things on the design, but we're gonna make a cooler mold with a cooler mask for our next cooler video. So my kids can be protected too. So, because this is only one mask, but I have 2 kids. I don't wanna have to make them do a battle royale to see who gets to leave the house today. Thanks for watching this lesson on how to make your own respirator mold. Make sure you click the like and subscribe button below. Like and subscribe to the Fancy New Guy YouTube channel. You'll get fancy new content for you to laugh and play and learn all at the same time. One shot at Fancy New Guy. And for more information on what we do, you can go to fancynewguy.com to see all of our up-to-date information and fresh new content. Coming to you from quarantine, I will see you next time. Stay fancy. Plantosaurus, tell them bye. I know the wind's blowing, I know you're grumpy today, but it'll be okay.